July 1997. A classroom full of 160 students, buzzing with ambition. My first day of my MBA class. A senior industry leader steps up and says, "Whoever in this room wants to be a CEO, raise your hand." 80% of the class shoots up. 80% of my fellow students raise their hand. I wasn't one of them. That business leader looks at the remaining 20% and says, "All of these have lost the race even before it began." I did not raise my hand, not because I didn't have the fire in the belly, or I didn't have the drive to achieve, or I didn't have the ambition. It was simply because I did not know at that time what a CEO did. That day, in that room full of dreams, I felt like an outsider, not sure if I belonged. But that moment later taught me something. Uncharted terrain is not about raising hands, is not about putting marks on the map. It's about taking small steps where you have the courage to question what you do not know yet. Fast forward to 2016. That boy in the MBA class was now the Chief Human Resource Officer of a leading organization, skillfully managing and navigating the world of HR. Out of the blue came a phone call. "Would you take up the Chief Operating Officer role, the COO role?" Imagine now a ship half sunk, deadlights missed, chaos in charge. I was the HR guy who fixed feelings, not wrecks. It was a storm, and I thought I didn't have the boots to step in. So I did what I do the best. I made a pros and cons list, and how creative I got with my cons. Would I mess up with the regulator? Would I mix on the profit and loss? I realized while making that cons list that it was not my cons, it was my fear talking, telling me to stay safe, telling me to be in the zone that I know the best. That day I felt standing on the edge of the cliff, very unsure whether I would fly or I would fall. I did not take that jump. I passed. But uncharted terrain has a way of coming back, whether you say yes or not. Opportunity, people say, only knocks once. I got lucky, not twice. Fall of 2017, the COO role came back, just like an old friend who had ghosted. This time, I did not hide. My old companions, the pros and cons list, they called again. I did not pick up that call. Something had changed. Fear was no longer ruling the roost. The last 1 year, I had spent asking myself, what if? This time, I took the jump. I did not only one, but 2 roles. Now there was a lot of buzz. An HR guy doing operations. Some said he will drown in the nuts and bolts of the process. It was a beast of a job. Big team, endless processes. Some bet I would fail. I leaned on to those who were rooting for my success. I decided I will take it each day as it comes. I listened to my customers, rolled up my sleeves, asked the most dumb questions like, "Can you explain what is a deductible?" I told my team, "Say it the way you see it." The noise, I tuned off. Every board meeting, every quarter felt like an exam that I was preparing, as if I would lose my job. Spoiler alert, I actually did prepare like that. You know, uncharted terrain, I realized, is a path that we have not traveled upon yet. But it's not only about personal, it's also about the collective. February 24th, 2022. Anybody in the room remember the date? That was the day Russia invaded Ukraine. A large column, 40 kilometers long, of artillery, tanks, trucks was moving from Belarus to Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine. This was the largest marching armed column Europe had seen since World War II. The world watched with bated breath, giving Kyiv 24 to 72 hours to either surrender or be captured. Now come 30 Ukrainians No one's idea of an army. Some were coders, some were gamers, some were management consultants, some were professionals like me, very few soldiers. Their weapons, night vision goggles, quad bikes, and drones that they flew as a hobby. That night in the forest of Kiev, they created mayhem. They created chaos. They used the drones to launch explosives on that Russian armada, and they brought it to the standstill by burning the trucks at the head of the border. That road had marshlands on the side, so they were trapped. Then these 30 Ukrainians go and blow up a supply base. Poof. So no fuel, no food. These 30 Ukrainians had dared to act. Kiev did not fall that night. It has not fallen still. That Russian juggernaut limped back to Belarus. Uncharted territory or a terrain is a lot about courage. Courage to jump into the unknown when you don't have a playbook. It's about being vaguely right rather than being precisely wrong. Coming back to my own story, from 2017 now to 2020, I was doing the chief operating officer role, grinding, working hard, driving the team, and proving that HR guys could run operations. All of a sudden came a news. The organization is looking for an internal candidate to be the CEO. CEO? The boy who didn't raise his hand? The HR leader who almost let the CEO role go? Night before the application deadline, I was contemplating, thinking, should I not? What if, should I? My wife, she's present here. She's always kept me honest, like most wives do. She asked me, have you applied? I said, mumbling, I'm thinking. I'm still the HR guy running operations. With a straight face, she looked at me and said, you will always be an HR guy for some. It didn't stop you earlier. Why is it deterring you now? That sentence hit me like a drone. The HR fraternity supported me in this journey to travel this path very few had before. Regulatory maze, customer complaints, reservings. Every day brought an unknown. I deep dived into the actuarial science, trying to understand how do we reserve, why do we reserve, how much money we can get to invest in the business. My to-be-read papers grew. My boys looked at me and said, Papa's got homework. He's back to school. My 14 hours work day blend into the weekends, but my kids' jokes and their laughs kept me sane. I could not let my team down, my board down, my customers down, and all those who believed in me down. Step by step, we steadied the ship. Profits rose, market share was gained, products were launched, and trust was earned. I was no longer the HR leader. I was now a leader who had carved his own paths. But uncharted terrain has a way of calling you again and again. In 2022, I went and joined a blockchain fintech, specializing in digital payments. I did not know much about fintech, so I called it the ABC. A for Amit, B for blockchain, C for crypto. At that time, I realized that the uncharted terrain is neither a mountain nor a wall. It's a door. It's a door that you have to push. You have to push because you believe in yourself. You bet on yourself. Just like those 30 Ukrainians had bet on their drones that night in Kiev. One day, I was sitting, thinking, reflecting, when I realized that we make so much about maps, about paths, about routes, about careers. When at some point, if you look around in this room, all of us have traversed the uncharted terrain, knowingly or unknowingly. I ask you to remember, think back, first time you rode a bike, wobbly, fearful, worried that you would fall, crash, hurt yourself. That's uncharted terrain. First time you came on the stage, whether for a school play, whether for a speech, whether for karaoke, or like me today, giving my first TED talk. Sweaty palms, cocktail of thrill and dread. It happens to me every time. First time you fell in love, that adrenaline rush, that feeling of joy, that happiness, yet unsure, what if the other person doesn't reciprocate my feelings? The adolescence roller coaster that you encounter, doubt, zits, not knowing what you would become. Every failure, big and small, which pushes you to do more, to succeed, lights that fire in you. The feeling of wonder, the feeling of awe, when you cross the finish line, when you land your dream college, when you make your parents proud, and that makes you to think, I did not know I had it in me to be here to achieve this. That is uncharted terrain, along with what happened in the forests of Kiev and my leap from HR to CEO. The world is changing its map faster than we know. AI, climate change, now tariffs. Ambiguity and uncertainty are no longer visitors. They are our roommates. We can outrun them, but it's time to invite them in. Just like I did, fumbling through premiums, deductibles, blockchain, or Papa's homework. I have a dare for all of you here. Please chase the unknown. It's not a far-off mountain, it is today. Ask that question, no matter how dumb it sounds. If you believe in an idea, if you want something desperately, jump in, even if you are half prepared. Because remember, navigating the uncharted terrain is a skill that can be built. All you need is courage, taking that first brave step, and a handful of people surrounding you who will support you in your quest. That boy from the MBA class traversed his path, sometimes messy, sometimes joyful, sometimes hurt, sometimes successful, sometimes ambitious, sometimes failing. But if he could do it, the Ukrainians could do it that night, so can you. Your terrain is calling you. It's time to be bold. It's time to rewrite the rules. It's time to light that spark within you. And it's time to turn your what-ifs into so what. Thank you.